Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very grateful for this invitation to address this side event which concerns an issue of core importance to the mandate and, of course, to freedom of religion or belief more generally. I apologize that I can't be with you in person. I'm in the adjacent room, but I'm delighted that I can share my thoughts with you via this recording. Let me begin by giving a brief introduction to this mandate as Special Rapporteur on freedom of religion or belief, before delving into more detail on the topic of the day and joining your call for decisive action to end persecution in Pakistan, Nigeria, and beyond. Approximately a year ago, I assumed this role as UN Special Rapporteur on freedom of religion or belief. As you know, this is one of about 45 thematic and 14 country-related mandates held by independent experts, sometimes referred to as the eyes and ears of the UN human rights system. If we fulfill that hope of being the eyes and ears, it is, of course, due to your support that we're able to carry out this role. The responsibility is to carry out thematic research to deepen knowledge and identify best practices to help states meet their international obligations with respect to various human rights issues, and in this case, that of freedom of religion or belief. The tools at the disposal of the mandate include twice-yearly thematic reports, one to the UN General Assembly and another to the United Nations Human Rights Council, along with the ability to communicate directly with states on alleged violations of freedom of religion or belief, all matters of concern relating to legislative proposals. Furthermore, upon invitation, the mandate undertakes missions to countries wherein I can engage with actors from state and civil society, identify best practices and areas for improvement with respect to freedom of religion or belief. This resulting in a public report clarifying these and offering technical support and follow-up. While the mandate has undergone small changes over time, this has existed since 1986, and over the past 37 years, the question of blasphemy and apostasy laws have consistently been among the most worrying issues, representing an affront to the very core of freedom of religion or belief, and raised regularly by each and every one of the mandate holders in all forms available to them and to us. Today's side event draws attention to the situation in two countries, which regrettably have serious obstacles to overcome in order to make freedom of religion or belief a lived reality for those in its jurisdiction. Foremost among these obstacles is the continued criminalization of offense to religious belief. In recent years, the mandate has communicated its concerns in this regard directly with the government of Pakistan on several occasions. These include the death sentence imposed on Mr. Junaid Hafiz, whose lawyer has also allegedly been extrajudicially killed for defending him as a supposed blasphemer. That is in PAK 7 2019 and PAK 3 2022. The situation in Pakistan has taken a notable turn for the worse this year, as many of you will be aware, notwithstanding the concerns which have been raised about the misuse of anti-blasphemy provisions in Pakistan's criminal law for decades. The National Assembly earlier this year approved an amendment to the penal code which aims to further increase the punishments related to certain expressions considered to be blasphemous. In April 2023, along with the Special Rapporteurs on extrajudicial executions, freedom of expression, and minority issues, I communicated my concerns to the government of Pakistan in relation to this development, along with the disturbing related trend of vigilante attacks against individuals accused of blasphemy and the places of worship and homes of religious minorities, including Ahmadis, Christians, and Hindus, and that's reflected in PAK 3 2023. The continued shrinking of legal space for civil discourse in relation to religious matters only serves to embolden those who wish to take the law into their own hands, often having deadly consequences for those who are accused, as well as undermining the rule of law itself. These developments take place against the backdrop of ever more aggravated intolerance towards religious or belief minorities in Pakistan. Prior communications to the government of Pakistan over recent months have drawn attention to related issues, including the increase in hate speech and incitement to violence against Ahmadis, PAK2 2023, reprisals against human rights defenders for raising issues related to freedom of religion or belief in Pakistan's UPR process, PAK1 2023, and the alleged ongoing practice of forced conversions and marriages of women and girls, particularly Christians and Hindus, PAK6 2022. Regrettably, none of these communications have received a response to date. Now moving to Nigeria, the situation is similarly concerning of the ways in which blasphemy laws contribute to a context which both the state and non-state actors can target religious or belief minorities. Disappointingly, Nigeria also maintains an anti-blasphemy provision in its federal law, and like some other states, grants entities within its federal structures the autonomy to establish religious laws, which are in turn much harsher on alleged blasphemers. The mandate's most recent communications to the government of Nigeria, indeed, concern the blasphemy allegations against Mr. Mubarak Balla, president of the Nigerian Humanist Association, NGA 2 2021, and the Sufi artist, Mr. Yahya Sharif Aminu, NGA 4 2020. However, I am aware of credible reports in recent months of the persecution, including alleged killings, of Christians and other religious or belief minorities by armed groups, including Boko Haram and Fulani militants. These reports are an alarming indication of an inability or unwillingness to offer sufficient protection to religious or belief minorities, far from representing a mechanism to avoid conflict or embrace multiculturalism. Throughout the country, Nigeria's tolerance of harsh blasphemy provisions among its federal states, as well as its own criminalization of blasphemy, only encourages and legitimates mob violence in the eyes of its authors and supporters. This apparent failure of the domestic authorities to offer effective protection to those under their jurisdiction is reflected in the increasing concern with which international human rights and criminal justice authorities are viewing the situation. In this context, my mandate is currently requesting a country visit to Nigeria, which we certainly hope will be confirmed in the coming weeks. In conclusion, both Nigeria and Pakistan are states parties to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. However, and as my next report to the UN General Assembly will outline in more detail, mere ratification of international instruments, hopeful though it may be, is far from sufficient in making human rights, including freedom of religion or belief, a tangible and lived reality. To begin with, the domestic legal order must reflect these international standards, and anti-blasphemy laws are squarely inconsistent with them. Then comes the even harder work of addressing violence, hatred, and discrimination motivated by religion or belief among officials, law enforcement, the judiciary, municipal functionaries, and society as a whole. These challenges are by no means unique to Nigeria or Pakistan. Indeed, they exist everywhere to a lesser or greater extent, and we all have work to do in addressing them. Incitement to violence and hate speech against others based on religion or belief must, in this regard, also be addressed. However, vague anti-blasphemy laws are not the answer. Rather, as my predecessors have repeatedly underlined, they are counterproductive and themselves encourage the kind of violence and discrimination we are currently focusing on. Legitimate discourse concerning religion or belief must be distinguished from incitement, and there is very helpful guidance available to states and all of us in making this distinction, including through the Rabat Plan of Action. In this connection, I wish to again call on governments, and those of both Nigeria and Pakistan in particular, to bring their domestic legal order in line with international standards on freedom of religion or belief, as well as freedom of expression, to repeal their anti-blasphemy laws and cease all prosecutions based thereon. Moreover, they must respect their due diligence obligations to protect persecuted religious or belief minorities, and in line with the Rabat Plan of Action, take effective action against hate speech and incitement to violence against them. Thank you very much for your attention.